Okay, I'm back. I decided to change up the scenery a little bit, so I'm sitting outside now. And I don't want you to get too bored. You know, I was sitting on my sofa, and I think I was a little bit too relaxed. Anyway, I'm outside. It's a beautiful day. It's 80 degrees here today. And yesterday was the first day of spring, so today it's really showing that it's the first day of spring. Um, there's not a whole lot of traffic here. We hardly ever see anybody, but right now I see a truck going down. We live on a road that has it's called Gas Line Road, so there's a lot of, there's a little bit of traffic going down to where the gas pump is. Not like a service station, but where they drill for gas. Anyway, when he and I were dating, he felt led um, to be in the ministry, and he the church we were attending, there was a lot of young guys that felt the call to be a minister. So he was one of them, and he tried to go to school, um, like a lot of them did, and he couldn't do it. His family couldn't afford to send him, and um, he was trying to work a job and go to school, and we missed each other. Um, so he didn't last very long in school. So he come back home, and um, we're making our plans to get married. But he loved music. He loved to sing. He would play the guitar, the piano, and he would sing and write a lot of songs. He's written many, many songs over the years, but he's only had maybe one or two that's really, one of them finally made it on the radio, but now I don't even know. He never got any royalties. They were gospel songs, and gospel songs just don't do that well. It's a lot of political, stuff, even in country music. So I'll tell you about all that later. Anyway, we got married and uh, had our first little home. It was so cute. We had a mobile home, and we had gotten it through my best friend's father worked at he sold mobile homes, and this lady was selling hers. And back then, our payments were very cheap. I mean, I think we were paying $100 a month, I want to say, if that. But, my best friend and her husband that got married in December, they were living in this little park. There were not that many mobile homes in this park, and they were living there. And they talked us into putting ours there. So we did. And it was so cute. I loved it. And we really didn't have that much furniture. We didn't need that much. We had a bedroom suite and a living room suite and a kitchen table. And which that was a lot, getting started. So we um, got married on the Friday, and Sunday night we were in our little trailer. And so Monday morning he went to work, and I went to get our car out of the shop. I say our car because we were married now. So I had a car. I was thrilled I had a car. I never had a car of my own before. And we, you know, we're married now, so the car was mine too. So the car had been in the shop. He kept having some problems with it, and he kept trying to get them to fix the problem. So he said he had a lawyer, and the lawyer told him not to make the payments on the car until they fixed it. So I didn't know that he had been making payments on the car. So I go Monday morning to get the vehicle out of the shop, and I go to the grocery store and I buy, I think I spent $30 and we had almost a week's worth of groceries. And I was so excited. I was buying groceries for us, first time ever. And I, you know, felt so grown up and free. Um, so, I wanted to be the good wife and I wanted to, you know, fix dinner for my husband, our first dinner together. And so I went to the grocery store and came home and, cooked our dinner. And I had to start my job the next day, going back to work. I was already working. I worked in retail. And anyway, this is really, you're not going to believe this, what happened next. We had our dinner that night and everything was going wonderful. The next morning, he goes to work. This is on a Tuesday morning. And I'm getting ready for work. And I had just taken my shower and washed my hair. My hair's very thick, and even back then it was long and it was thick, and it took a while for me to dry my hair. I was in there drying my hair, and I thought I heard somebody knock on the door, so I stopped, and it really scared me because, here I am. We didn't have a phone yet, and I hear somebody knocking on the door, and it was morning time, like 9 something, and I'm thinking, who would be knocking on my door? So I threw my clothes on and went to the door, had my hair in a towel, and I went to the door, and there was a man there. I looked out the window first, and there was a man standing there with a suit on, and he had a long, like, trench coat. Looked very professional, and it scared me. I thought he was the law. I didn't know who he was. So I hollered through the door. I said, "Can I help you?" And he said, "I'm so and so from the bank. I am here to take possession of the car." And I said, "You're what?" He said, "I'm here to take possession of the car for non-payment." So I'm thinking, oh my God, what's going on? He never told me that he hadn't made payments on the car. I was young, I was naive, I didn't know about finances. I assumed he was taking care of everything. So I opened the door and I said, "Sir," I said, "I have no idea what's going on. Um, we just got married Friday, and I'm supposed to be at work at 1, and he's at work. I don't have a phone. I don't have a way to call him." I said, "Can you give me a little while?" I said, "So I can find out what's going on." And the man said, well, I will have to go and use the phone. We didn't have cell phones back then. So he said, I'll have to go and find out what I can do. So he left. When he left, I jumped in my car and went to his parents' house because they lived not too far from us. I didn't get into the door good before the man pulled up behind me. He was knocking on the door at his parents' house. So I go to the door and the man is yelling at me for leaving. And I said, "Sir, I just come here to use the phone, trying to get in touch with him so he can tell me what to do." I said, "I don't know what to do." And the man said, "There's nothing you can do." He said, "I'm here to take the car." And he said, "I'm going to take it now since you left with it." And it scared me to death. My heart was pounding. I'm like, what in the world, am I going to do? I've got to be at work in a little bit. So the man took the car. He took the car and left his behind. And I couldn't get in touch with my husband. His mother, she was not any help. I didn't really know her that well. She and I hadn't bonded. I knew that his dad was a very bad alcoholic, and his mother was, a chain smoker, and just they lived very poorly. And so I was stuck with somebody that I didn't know very well. I was not going to call my parents and tell them, that we just had our car repossessed. Married on a Friday, Tuesday we get our car repossessed. They really didn't care for me to marry, him anyway because, of his family mainly. So I was stuck there. I had to call my job and tell them I couldn't come to work. And I wanted to crawl in a hole somewhere and hide. I wanted to just go somewhere and curl up in a fetal position and just sob because I didn't know what to do. It was very traumatizing because the man from the bank said he could have me arrested for fleeing with a car. And I was not fleeing with the car. I was just trying to get somewhere to use a phone so I could get in touch with him. Anyway, she had to go to work. So I'm left there in their house. I'm a stranger to them. I had to sit there and wait for my husband to get off work. He was out in the field. They couldn't get in touch with him. So I told him that when he got off work and back to the office to tell him to come to his mother's house. He rode to work with his dad. They worked together. And he, instead of his dad bringing him to our little trailer, he took him to his parents' home. When he got there, I'm upset. I'm crying. And I told him what happened. And he just acted like it was no big deal to him. He said, we'll just go to the bank the next day, borrow some money to pay for the 3 payments that we were behind on. He was behind on. I had nothing to do with this. He was the one that did not pay his payments. And something was not right. I told him, I said, what lawyer is going to tell you to stop making payments? And I thought, if he did tell you that, he didn't mean for you just to not make the payments. He meant for you to put the money back if he told you that. And when you got your car fixed, to pay the payments. But he was 3 months behind on his payments. And it didn't make any sense to me. But I was humiliated. I was disgusted, humiliated. I went from being happily married, everything was new to me. Uh, our dreams that we had talked about, things that were going to happen, everything just went poof. The rug was just pulled right out from under me. And I'm wondering the whole time, what are people going to think? How embarrassing. What am I going to tell my family? Our car was just repossessed. I was sick. I was so sick. So, anyway, his dad took us back to our little trailer. And I'm thinking the whole time, why isn't he upset about this? You know, he acted so calm and like he didn't give a care, oh well, he has a way to work, he didn't care about how I was going to get to work. That was not his problem, that was my problem. So all into the evening, the rest of the night, I'm going, what are we going to do? How am I going to get to work? What are people going to say? What are we going to tell my parents? And I went on and on and on at him, trying to get him to talk to me about it, give me some kind of reassurance that everything's going to be fine. But he couldn't do that. He actually, instead, got very upset with me because I wouldn't shut up about it. And at one point, he grabbed me by my shoulders and shook me and told me to stop yelling at him. And I was shocked. This man that was always so sweet and so kind, and what? Who is this person? He's not the person I thought he was. And so, anyway, he told me that he wanted me to go the next morning to a loan office and borrow the money to catch the payments up. Because the guy at the bank said that, he had called him and he said, if we bring in the past 3 months payment, then we could get the car back. So that gave me a little bit of peace of mind. I thought, okay. So I had to ask my best friend that lived in the same park to take me to this loan office. Well, she did. And I get in there and I explained to the man what happened. I didn't know any better. I thought he would give me a loan. The man looked at me and said, ma'am. He said, well, he didn't say ma'am because I was just 18 years old. He said, Miss Humphreys. Well, I shouldn't have said Humphreys. Anyway, he said, you cannot get a loan. He said, your name, you married him, and you don't have any credit. your credit's ruined. He said, for 7 years, since they repossessed the car, for 7 years, you will have bad credit. I wanted to throw up. I was embarrassed. I was humiliated in front of my best friend, and I wanted to die. I wanted to go somewhere and just die because I knew that 7 years is a very long time. And I knew that I didn't think we would ever get a car. I didn't know how we would ever get a car. We didn't have money to go pay on a car. So anyway, I go back home and I just had to accept it. What could I do? I thought, I've made a terrible mistake and I'm going to have to live with it. And I had to tell my parents. I didn't tell them the whole truth. I told them what he told me, that the lawyer told him not to make the payments. And before he could get down there to make the payments, they came and repossessed the car. And he's getting another lawyer because he's going to sue them. That was his story. That's what he told everybody. And that's what I told everybody because I felt like if I tell him the truth, it's going to make him look very, very stupid. And it would have made me look very, very stupid. So I didn't tell people the whole truth. So everybody felt sorry for us. Not everybody, but people that knew felt sorry for us. And I became very withdrawn. I didn't want to have anything to do with our friends. I was so ashamed. And I went from being super, super happy to the deepest, saddest depression I had ever been in. And I didn't know what I was going to do. It was something I knew I would have to live with. I couldn't leave him. What would that look like if I left him? I didn't want to hurt him. I didn't want him to be embarrassed. I didn't want him to have to face people and say, our marriage didn't last because, you know, our car got repossessed. She left me. You know, that wouldn't have looked very good. So, anyway, things, when you ruin your credit, things just happen. And little did I know how bad they would get. So, I have a lot to tell you because my life has been very, very hard. And I think if I'd been a strong person and I didn't have the life I had as a child, and I wasn't already having depression problems and having um, low self-esteem problems, I think I would have been able to handle the situation a lot more. But having those problems only made made my problems worse. So it didn't get better, it got worse, and it got worse, and it got worse. I stayed for 37 years, and my life has been like a roller coaster. I tried to love him. I felt sorry for him because I felt like you just don't know. He didn't know how to do things. His family didn't teach him how to take care of his finances. He never had anything growing up. I didn't have much, but I had everything I needed. Um, but he did without a lot. And, you know, I really felt sorry for him. So it changed my whole life. It changed my life. So anyway, I'm going to, I've been talking for 25 minutes. I'm going to shut this down for a little bit. And I don't know. I may sit here through the next vlog. This is a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So I'm ready to get all this out of my system. And I'm ready to hear your feedback because I'm not a bad person. I'm a very empathetic person. I have a big heart. Things just embarrass me very easily. And I was very embarrassed. So I shut down and tried to make his life easy when mine was falling to pieces. So anyway, it's almost 30 minutes that I've talked, so I need to shut this down. I don't know how much time you can put on YouTube, so I hope this is not all in vain because I want everybody, not everybody, but I want people to know how things like this can affect you long term. So I'll be back in a little bit.